And welcome to the Comic Corner. Happy Halloween, also. Happy Halloween, TJ. Welcome to another episode. My name is Damon. I'm your host. And today I'm joined alongside my good friend from the West Coast, TJ, who I already introduced because I am already just like sugar high, apparently. Already just out of it. Totally still tired from a midnight review of Agatha all along. Thank you for everyone who tuned into that finale. It was a lot of fun. But TJ, you were with us for a lot of it. Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. You're already dipping into the candy, I see.
Clearly.
Good morning, everybody else watching and listening out there. It's fantastic to see you. Sorry I missed y'all last week. I was a very sleepy boy and overslept the episode. So it's wonderful to see you, and I'm excited to talk comics with you all today.
Yeah, we have a fun week of comics. It's the rare fifth week, right? It's the rare fifth week in the month. We don't usually get these. It only happens a few times a year, so it's a little dry. I'm not going to lie. It's a little dry, but we have some good books, and it's very nice that Ultimate X-Men decided to show up in this last week of October. Action has been weekly, so we get some action. And then, hey guys, look, it's Halloween. It's Halloween. I'm going to give you some spook. No matter where we look, no matter where we go, I will find some spook, and we have some spook for you. But first, what we do here, everyone, we do news, reviews, and interviews. And our news, because it is the end of the month, that means we have solicits. Now, I'm not going to dive too deep into this solicit because we talked about this after our New York Comic Con episode when this was revealed, Ultimate Wolverine, but we have a date. It is coming out in January. I am very excited for it. I know you are very excited for it. Is this still Logan? Is this Bucky? Is this Wade Wilson? I don't know. Nobody knows right now, but all we know is that this Wolverine is also Winter Soldier, and that is pretty badass.
Dude, I didn't even read the announcement. I just saw people posting it. I never even considered that this wasn't even Logan. So that that just opens my mind to a whole new world of possibilities. Bucky, I think, would be awesome. Like, I know he's the Winter Soldier as well, but I think if it's Bucky, ooh, that would be cool, dude.
Yeah, that's something that they didn't explicitly say at New York Comic Con, but they were kind of like, and who knows? Is this even Logan? And it's like, ooh, who knows? We
Ooh.
don't know anymore. Because as we saw in that last panel of the first arc of Ultimate X-Men, someone's up on X, and we both imagined that was like, oh, that's definitely Logan, right? It's definitely Wolverine. But who knows? Maybe that wasn't Logan. Maybe this is Logan. Maybe neither of them are. Who knows? But I'm excited for it. The Ultimate books have been fantastic, and we will talk about another one today. But your pick for your solicit of January is actually pretty interesting. Which one did you come out with?
Sam Wilson, baby, Captain America. I'm beating myself up. I should have looked it up before I hopped on here. But the previous Sam Wilson Captain America run that ran alongside
Yeah.
Captain America Sentinel of Liberty. There we go. I love that run, and I am I love anytime Sam is in the Cap role. I've been loving having him in the Avengers, but it's not enough. I need more. Like, I want Sam front and center, and with the new movie coming out, I mean, this just plays. We see Red Hulk's on the cover, so it's obviously a project that's going to be very movie aligned, which I know some people feel differently
It's
about, but
very synergy. Look at that.
yeah, exactly. Some people don't like that, but I am a fan, especially if it's done well, of the kind of movie aligned projects. And also, the real icing on the cake here is we have our boy Patriot down at the bottom. And
Yeah,
as
baby.
as much as I'm a fan of Sam Wilson, I am just as much of a fan of Isaiah Bradley. Black, White, and Blood might be, I think, my favorite Captain America comic ever. So to have Patriot involved gives me hope that we might get some Isaiah in this, which it all the signs are coming up green for me, my friend. This sounds awesome.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen Patriot in anything, and I'm a Young Avengers fan. And that's because
Yeah.
that character is complicated. Man, is he complicated. You're looking for Captain America: Symbol of Truth, by the way. That is the Captain
Yes.
America run with Sam Wilson, and that was pretty fun. So those are two kind of looking our eyes out in January. Also wanted to quickly shout out the new Aquaman run that's coming out. Excited about that as well. But there's our solicits, and now we go from solicits to our reviews. We were mentioning Ultimate Book earlier. That was Ultimate Wolverine. We mentioned how Wolverine may or may not have shown up at the end of the first arc of Ultimate X-Men. And here we are. We're at Ultimate X-Men, number 8 from Peach Momoko. I didn't love the last issue. I understood why it was the way it was. And reading this one out, it makes a lot of sense for the story going forward. Because it was literally the first issue of a new arc. It's going to kind of introduce a new thing, set up a new door, open up a new story, right? It's not gonna, it's gonna set up something new. But because of that, I was like, oh, what happened to like this group of like teens that I've like this group of kids that I've been like following around for like most of it because they were in this book for like two pages. This issue ties it all together very nicely, as it should with the second issue of a new arc. And I still say this, if you're not enjoying this run at this point, maybe you just won't. And that's okay. Like, not every comic is for everyone. Um, I do also say look at this book not as an X-Men book. Look at it more as like a New Mutants Runaways, like combo. I think that line of thinking fits more of what this book is, but you still get some good mutiny X-Men stuff. We may have just seen this universe's Cyclops, as you can see on this cover. We have a little bit of a beam going on, right? So it's pretty fun. And not just fun, it's also just dark as hell. It kind of balances that line of very bubbly Peach Momoko type of storytelling with her art style and kids, but then it goes crazy dark, dealing with self-harm in with this school, these students, like the schools had issues, and you have this secret organization kind of like puppeteering things, and it's almost like a cult following, this Children of the Atom cult following. It's pretty cool. I've been enjoying this. This is still not like my so far this arc, I still feel like we're building up a little bit. We're still building out the cast, which is starting to be like, whoa, we're getting big. Because even at the very beginning, the funny thing was it was like, well, we have like two mutants. We're like 3 issues in. We have two mutants. What's going on here? Now all of a sudden it's just like it's growing and growing and growing. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Slow down. I think we have enough. I'm just more curious to see how this entire story is going to fold in on itself. And I'm not looking at it from an ultimate perspective, right? I don't want to see how this ties in with all the other ultimate stuff because this feels very contained. And that's what I like about this.
Yeah, I've never even once considered or even wanted to know or see how this group of characters like relates to what's going on in the Ultimates or Ultimate Spider-Man. I've never even considered it, and I don't think I need it either. It's its own little corner of the universe. I can just accept that it is, this is what's happening in Japan, right? But I don't necessarily want to see them come into like the Ultimates or stuff because I think there's so much still to uncover in this corner of the universe. And that's something that I really love about this book is the whole mystery aspect of it. Like you said, with this cult of the Children of the Atom, all the the new powers that are manifesting in these kids. That's what really attracts me to it. So I don't really want those answers yet. I want to continue going down the rabbit hole. So I've been loving this series. I'm unfortunately behind. I haven't been able to pick up my books for a little while, but the last issue that I read with the Xavier type kid, and like we get the like reveal of him working with the child, like that was awesome. That like
Yeah,
really
that was
hit.
the end of the first arc. So
Yeah, that
you haven't gotten
really,
into this new arc yet.
yeah, that lit the gas for me. So I'm super excited to jump into this next arc. Again, I agree with you though. If you haven't really been liking this run, I think it might just not be for you, and that's
Yeah.
completely fine. But if you are looking for something that is drastically different from the rest of the Ultimate line, I can't recommend this book enough.
And also just drastically different from everything that the X books are doing right now. I know
Yeah.
you've been a fan of what the X books are
Hmm.
doing. Me myself, not so much, and it's because it just feels more of the same old, right? We're going down nostalgia road of the 90s, and for a lot of people, that's what they want, and that's totally fine. For me,
Hmm.
I love big swings. I love something different. That's why I've been enjoying these Ultimate books. That's why I've been enjoying the Absolute books, because it's different. And this is the most different out of
Hmm.
any of these like mini verses that's been going on. So I've been enjoying it. This issue in particular, still not my favorite of the bunch. It still feels like it's a little slow to get there, but that's just how the series is, and that's totally okay.
Can I say one thing about the
Mhm.
X-Men before we move on? So, speaking of From the Ashes, the other X-Men line, not Ultimates, anybody out there that is like Damon looking for something different, kind of unique, I highly recommend NYX. I would say that out of the whole From the Ashes line, that and Exceptional X-Men, I would recommend as the two that
Exceptional, I
are
enjoyed.
uh like kind of a bigger swing, kind of new, charting new territory. So anyone out there, and also shameless little plug here, I just wrote about all of the From the Ashes titles over at CBR, and I ranked each one of them. So go check that out and see which one interests you the most.
Exceptional, I did enjoy. I'll say that. That was
Exceptional
out
was
of all the
great.
new lines, Exceptional was the one I enjoyed the most. Another book I have been enjoying is Action Comics. And we've been in a bit of a weekly kick from Mark Waid, who's been a very, very, very busy man doing this weekly run, as well as getting ready for Justice League Unlimited, which we're very excited for. This is the third part of this Superman story where he's going into the Phantom Zone because there's something weird going on in the Phantom Zone, and it turns out it, it's not good. Like, Phantom Zone's turning a little bit on his head. Things there aren't supposed to be physical. Things there are not supposed to be manifesting, right? It's supposed to be a place of emptiness, of nothingness, which is why it is both a great prison and also a really cruel prison at the same time. And Kal-El recognizes that, in him being the big blues Boy Scout that he is, even though these are bad people who are mostly bad people in there. Mono, an example of someone who is not a bad person, who's in there. This was the only way to save him way back in the day, was to put him in the Phantom Zone. Kal-El still recognizes that this is essentially his prison. So he wants to make sure that things are at least up to his standards. And naturally, there's a being in there that is just making things a little more complicated and worse than it should be. So he is exploring that. And then we are now also just exploring the history of the Phantom Zone, which is very Mark Waid, diving into something that really hasn't been like deep dived into. And he's like, I'm going to make some lore here and it's going to just work. So that's where essentially this issue ends, is we are going to really dive deep into the lore and the history and everything that is the Phantom Zone.
I love some good lore, baby. I love it. I love lore. I don't even know what's going on in this run, but I would pick that up. I would pick it up just for that, honestly.
And it's been fun. It's been fun so far. Again, we're 3 issues in, so 3 weeks into this. There's also, because it's action, which is what I've been enjoying about action. If I don't like the main story, maybe the backup story in here will work, because it is a little bit of an anthological book. So we have a Supergirl story where she is going off into space, trying to escort a prisoner from one place to another, and that is another mystery unfolding. This issue in particular had so few words and like really didn't get too far into the story. Like, it just kind of felt like a little bit of an overlap. So nothing, no major developments in this issue, but the writing from Mariko Tamaki is great, and I really love the art as well from Skylar Patridge, or the art from Skylar Patridge. It's been visually great and just cool to see Supergirl in just like a cosmic story, doing cosmic story things. It reminds me a little bit of Woman of Tomorrow with her just being out in space doing some cosmic stuff.
That's what I like Supergirl doing. I am very ignorant on Supergirl. I have read plenty of stories with her, but I am by no means an expert or anything. So, I'm sure people in the comments can give me a list of really great Earthbound Supergirl comics. But my real knowledge, or at least the biggest one that I've read, is Woman of Tomorrow. So I am always a big fan of having her just like off in the galaxy fighting aliens and stuff. I love that.
And it's not just the fighting the aliens, it's like the diplomatic part. It's the representative part of the House of L. It's very cool with that. So I do enjoy that. The Pedestrian, TJ. The Pedestrian is a book you have been loving. Tell me about issue 3.
Oh, loving is an understated word for how I feel about this book. I can't praise this book enough. First 2 issues were amazing. We talked about it before. It starts off as kind of like just kind of a slice of life sort of story. And this guy, the Pedestrian, mysterious hero, goes and, not solves crimes, but like helps everyday people doing everyday things. Helps someone find their wallet, old lady cross the street, the kind of heroic acts that everyone can do. But this 3rd issue really just pulls the rug out from under us. And we start, speaking of lore, we start getting deep into this lore of the Pedestrian. And not only the Pedestrian, but like street signs in general. So like in this world, street signs are some sort of secret like symbols that have a certain power to them. We don't get a full explanation of this, but we learn this as our enemies start to come to light, that you can see there on the cover. They're like the stop sign guys. And it's crazy, dude. Like I was not expecting the book to take this kind of turn, but I love it. And the stakes have just gotten so high within one issue, and like things are just like all the way up here, but it still maintains that kind of whimsicalness and the kind of quirkiness and goofiness that's inherent with this kind of character. So I cannot praise this book enough. It's so good. It has a good message. It's just so creative. Like, again, they're doing stop signs, right? They're adding like this whole mystical world to stop signs. So it's just so creative, so fun. And we'll talk about it more in a couple weeks, because we got a couple weeks until the next issue. But I will tell you guys, I did get a little preview of issue 4, and it is even better. Like, pick it up. Just go pick it up, please. If you trust my opinion on comics at all, please go pick up The Pedestrian. You will not be disappointed.
You wanted to shout out the last page as well. Look at that.
Yeah, so this was a page in issue 3 that I just really loved, and I think it kind of gives you an example of, again, it's like goofy, but there's an intensity to it. And I just loved how Sean Von Gorman, artist for the series, he kind of slowly brings the villains like closer and closer and closer through each panel. And it's just, again, it's so good. I cannot, and I'll also say too, I don't want to speak too preemptively, but I will say we probably will have Joey Esposito and Sean Von Gorman popping up on here again soon to talk all about it. So catch up, do your homework before that episode drops.
There you go. Do your homework. Go pick up The Pedestrian, because it's a fun time. Another book that's been a fun time. TJ, did you get the chance to read Uncanny Valley number 6?
Of course I did. Our boy Tony Fleece. I love Uncanny Valley. This has been and Dave Wagner's art is mwah.
This is a very interesting issue, because I believe we got to a point now. Was this either supposed to be 6 issues or 8 issues? I don't remember how long the original run was supposed to go, but it was extended. Mm-hmm. And this issue takes you out of the story a little bit to learn the lore of the history of cartoons in this universe. Even so much to see like some very famous cartoons who are in public domain now, but some very famous cartoons who are like how they lived and like how like the extinction of dinosaurs affected them, like some crazy wild concepts. But then you also get put back into the story to learn the history of our main character's mother and how she met like her cartoon husband
Yeah, I forget
and
that
how
guy's
he
name.
like it was like I wasn't expecting like a whole lore issue out of this. Did you enjoy it?
Well, first of all, we need to title this like the lore comic episode or something, because every issue we've talked about is digging into some lore. But yeah, I loved this one, and I really, really, which I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the stinger at the end of this issue, it just got my mind twirling, like kind of changed everything I thought of this series so far. So I love it. Like I said, I love Tony Fleece. I got the opportunity to talk to him at LA Comic Con actually, and he told me with this extension they're doing some wild stuff. Like they're really swinging for the fences, especially now that they have this extension. So I'm just excited to see what they have in store for us, because again, this series has been awesome, and now I feel like everything is just going for a loop, and I just want to know what's going on.
Yeah, essentially the story started out, for those who haven't been reading, the story started out as a kid who found out he's half cartoon. So if you enjoy a movie like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, this is right up your alley. And he found out that like his dad is full cartoon and he has to go into the cartoon world and maybe he is a savior of this cartoon world, but oh no, looks like he was manipulated by a bad man, and now some chaos is going on in cartoon world, trying to get into the real world. The two worlds are blending. And then this issue, as we mentioned, is a big lore issue explaining the history of cartoons and how they were almost banished into their own world by the end, and the division and the lines between the two worlds and all that stuff. It's very interesting. Neither of us expected it to go to this point, clearly, but because of this issue, like you mentioned with Tony, they could just blow the doors open at this point. Like they went there in the end. They went there, and now you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. Which again, that's what's the most exciting about this. I thought it was one thing and I loved it, and now I'm finding out it's something else, and I can't, and I know I'm gonna love it too. But like I said, it's just so awesome seeing writers take such big swings. You know what I mean? Like, not saying like everyone plays it safe or anything like that, but I just love, like I said, same kind of similar to the Pedestrian, what I was just talking about. Just like you think the story is one thing, and then the rug is just pulled out from under you, and you're just in this whole new world now. And I love that.
We are in a good time for indie comics, TJ. We are a good time for indie comics. We have a lot of indie comics lined up in the show, which I failed to mention off the top. We really only had two of the big two, and then after that, straight indies. Let's go right into it. This is Armored, issue 3. Tell me about it.
Yes, Armored. So this is my new favorite fantasy book that's out right now. I think I talked about the first two issues a couple weeks ago, but this is issue 3, and it's again another book that just keeps getting better and better. This is a lighter tone, similar to the Pedestrian, and we're dealing with like some mystery, some fantasy. Basically, setup premise for everybody is we follow this kid Andy, whose parents were killed by some mysterious circumstances, and he gets adopted by a family whose son died by some very mysterious circumstances. And as the issues are unfolding, we're learning that they're a little bit more involved with each other than we originally thought. And all of this comes together when Andy finds a magical suit of armor that comes with its own little ghost, Sir William. And it is fun, it's creepy, it's mysterious. It has like a Blue Beetle vibe with this suit of armor, like it has powers, and there's creepy monsters. It's great. I shout out Michael Schwartz. This is coming from Clover Press. I really, really enjoy this series. Again, the first three have been awesome. If you enjoy fantasy, if you enjoy, like I said, Blue Beetle, that kind, or like Nova, that kind of like a young kid coming into this kind of great power, you'll definitely like this. I again can't recommend it for enough. Check out our episode with Michael Schwartz we did maybe like a month ago or so. Hear all about armor, and again, maybe a face that might pop up on here again as well. So yeah, definitely check out Armor. I really love this book. And again, I'm a huge fantasy guy. So for me to say it's my favorite fantasy book right now, seal of approval.
As you mentioned, written by Michael Schwartz, art from Ismael Hernandez. Go check it out because TJ's a big fantasy guy, loves his fantasy. So if he likes it, you know it's good. All right. I promise some spook. It's Halloween. I am not
Cullen
done
Bunn, baby.
any get up. So if you need some spook, you know where to look. You know where to look. Cullen Bunn right here. This is the Hexiles from Mad Cave. Cullen Bunn writing, Joe Picardo on the art. TJ, before I get into this, did you have a chance to read this?
I did.
He did. We can have a conversation.
I'm prepared today, dude.
He's prepared. Love it. So I would say a fun way to describe this book is a mashup of a couple things. And one thing we already mentioned, you get a little bit of Runaways in here. You get a little bit of that, and you get a little bit of Umbrella Academy as well, but with a demonic twist of it all, right? So let's describe what's going on in this book. Old man died, and all of a sudden, all these kids are invited to his funeral. Turns out he is the father of all of these kids, and they're just like, oh, that's weird. Dad really got around, I guess. And they look at him like, all right, we're out of here. So they leave, but they don't necessarily leave because his dad made quite the deal with the devil, or devils, plural, because now all these kids, they clearly have some sort of demonic powers to them, different demonic powers for each one. And hell is coming back to get what they owe. And they're being attacked by lots of demons. And it's cool. It's creepy. The art in here from Joe Picardo is excellent. It's a very good first issue.
Agreed, all around. I'm a big Bunn fan, a Bunhead, if you will. And so I really, anything he does, I typically enjoy, especially when we're in the horror vein. And I just can't agree more on all aspects. I love the dynamic between the kids, even though it's the first issue, so we don't get a lot of it. But the dynamic that was set up, I really enjoyed. I enjoy obviously the creepiness of it. Like there's some cool body horror in here, and it was another one that kind of surprised me. I opened it up not knowing what to expect, and then once shit starts hitting the fan, I was like, okay, this is where we're going, right? So I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great first issue. We talk about this all the time. For me, the job of a first issue is to pique my interest enough to make me come back for issue 2. And this succeeded in that for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it sets up the world very well. You get to get a little bit of like the personality dynamics of each of these kids because there's a lot of them. If I'm counting, there's like at least 7 of them. So there's a decent amount of kids that this guy had who all have a very unique demonic skill set to them, almost like a witchcraft, or some of them have a transformation, some of them have like a healing spell that's always kind of cast upon them, but like their blood of demonic healing and all that stuff. And there's some really good creepy art in here as well, some good body horror. The butler of it all, it like has his like head split open and it's like his real kind of self comes out a little bit. Very, very gruesome. I just like the way that is portrayed. Very cool first issue. We'll be keeping up on this because it's just something that, like, look, I like my horror comics. TJ knows that. So if you have one on here that I'm just like, I like that idea, it's a good book. It's a good book. So I highly suggest picking this up if you can.
Speaking of horror books, I can't wait for that next issue of that slasher book from Magma. That was really great.
That was great too. That was great. I wanted to give a quick shout out before we wrap things up because, like I said, fifth week of the month. It's a little dry on books, but I wanted to give a quick shout out here to Adam Barnhart. House of Haunts. The Kickstarter is up. We have like 3 more days or so of it. So close to reaching that goal. Go check this out. Again, it's Halloween, guys. It is Halloween. Go to hauntscomics.com. Exactly how it spells HAUNTSCOMICS.com to go check out the Kickstarter for that. There's physical, there's digital versions. It's a horror anthology, which I love so much. And it's in a really cool classic black and white format as well. So please go check it out. Some excellent stories in here. Hauntscomics.com. Adam Barnhart. We've interviewed Adam. He owns his own comic shop in Iowa. So very cool that he's also publishing his own books. TJ, you're gonna be checking this out too, right?
Of course, of course. We are massive, massive supporters and proponents for indie comics over here. Every artist, every writer that you love at one point was an indie artist or writer. So go support your indies. House of Haunts is going to be absolutely fantastic. So go back it. Do it right now.
Go back
Pause this video, go do it, and then come back and hear the rest of our stupid ramblings.
Yes. Link will be in description as well for our audio and video listeners. All right. We managed to get through all that in like 30 minutes. Very good for us. Very, very good for us. Flew through that. Absolutely flew through that. Here's my books for next week. I always screenshot what I have from my League of Comic Geeks app, which I love to keep in touch and keep ahead of everything. I believe Lilith is also possibly coming out next week. The date on that is a little shaky on all over the place from Vault Comics, but I believe Lilith #2 is also out next week. Action, as I mentioned, it's a weekly book. It'll be on next week's polls. Birds of Prey, we're continuing a brand new arc from the All In Initiative. That's been super fun. New arc came out last month, so you only have to, if you haven't dove into it yet, just pick up last month's issue, pick up this issue, and you're pretty much caught up. The Crow has a classic comic kind of coming out right now if you just want to recollect some stuff. And more importantly, here's my big two. Something is Killing the Children #0. Very special issue of Something's Killing the Children. Looks like a big flashback issue, which we had an entire arc of flashbacks, but this is kind of like the culmination of that in a way. And also a book we've both been loving from Denny Camp, The Ultimates, #6. The conclusion of the first arc of The Ultimates. So I'm very excited for that. TJ, what do you have?
Well, obviously, I have Ultimates as well. Like we've praised that book so much on this show. It's probably one of my favorites at Marvel. But I also got Aliens vs Avengers, which I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for the amalgamation properties, and I honestly thought like I was missing out on this because I read the first issue, but that was like, I want to say like a month, more than a month ago, it feels like. So I was like, damn, did I not put it on my polls and it's just been coming out? So I'm very excited to find out that issue 2 is coming this week and I haven't missed it. And also, we already mentioned it, but I got a couple X books. We got the X Factor. I think #4 is coming out, which honestly, X Factor surprised me with how much I enjoyed it. It's kind of the meta storytelling with the X-Men line. Really, really fun. And then Jed McKay's X-Men, I think #8, 6 or 8, something like that. But yeah, so I got a couple X, but really, I mean, Ultimates, that's the one, right? Like, that's always the one. And I also want to say very quickly, because I missed out on last week and we got a little bit of extra time here today, I just want to give my quick thoughts on Absolute Wonder Woman real quick, because I did not get to join that conversation with y'all, but oh golly, was that a good book. I honestly, I think I enjoyed it more than Absolute Batman. It was so good. Kelly Thompson absolutely crushed that book. And I wanted to bring this up very quickly, like I said, just because I love the book so much. But something I really loved about it was I feel like it parallels but contrasts the Batman line in a lot of different ways and very creative ways. And one of the big ones that I caught was so in all Absolute Batman, we have a Bruce Wayne that has a different outlook on life because of his upbringing, right? We have the Bruce Wayne that never had money. But I feel like with Wonder Woman, we're playing with the similar dynamic of Diana growing up in hell. How does that change her outlook? But the main difference is that Diana is still Diana. Like she is still who like the obviously not the same, but her morals, her outlook on life is the same even though she grew up in hell. And I think that's a very kind of interesting difference between the two runs. And yeah, I just loved it. And like the play on her origin too, like when Kelly, I'm sure you noticed this, but like her like hut is basically made out of clay, and like obviously the original origin is she was formed out of clay, so like she's technically still formed from clay, like metaphorically. So yeah, like I said, we had a little extra time today, so I want to just do a little tangent on that real quick.
I'll push back a little bit. I still say Bruce is still very much like Bruce Wayne. He still has Bruce Wayne morals. He's just a little, I don't want to say angrier, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have like everything around him. He doesn't have the money, obviously. So he has to
Hmm.
work to get there. But it's what I think is interesting about all of these absolute books, regardless. So far, even what it sounds like in Superman, from hearing Jason Aaron talk about it, all three of these characters have faced the most adversity they could possibly be given, because this is an entire universe formed by Darkseid. Like, and I think that's almost going to be the point of this absolute universe. You become better because of adversity. So Bruce is still Bruce. He still has his Bruce Wayne morals, even though he doesn't have the money, but he still cares about Gotham. That's first and foremost. He still
Yeah.
he cares about Gotham. Diana's still compassionate completely. And we haven't read Absolute Superman yet, but I have a feeling that from what I've heard, he still has that Superman hope. And that is
I
the
was,
most important thing about it, even though this is a potentially a Superman who has seen Krypton explode, who has the entire weight of his people behind him, almost like Kara,
mhm.
but he still loves the people and the humanity of Earth, and that's what's giving him hope going forward.
And that's a very interesting point that you bring up that I hadn't really considered or thought about. It is, if you think about it, at least the main Trinity, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they got shit pretty sweet in the main universe. I mean, Bruce grew
Mhm.
up as a rich kid. I mean, yeah, obviously, like that terrible thing happened, but Bruce grew up rich. Diana, princess of
Grew up in
Themyscira, the Amazon,
paradise. Yep.
paradise. Clark, like, yes, his planet was destroyed, but he got to grow up with the Kents, like probably the
Mhm.
best humans on Earth. So that's a point I never really even considered. Like, yeah, all of the Trinity basically had shit pretty sweet growing up. And now we're seeing, like you said, the adversity. Like, how do these characters turn out facing adversity in their primal years as opposed to later in life? So yeah, I killed it with that, dude. Something I didn't even consider.
I've been discussing at my comic shop, and we think that theoretically, if these two worlds were to collide, the absolute universe is going to just smoke the main universe. It
Oh,
just smoke
without
them.
question.
If like they were to actually fight. Like you look
Beefcake
at absolute
Batman versus main universe
Beefcake Batman,
Batman. Come
who's
on now.
like an expert at everything. This is crazy, right?
He's
Like
gonna take that axe
absolutely
off so
crazy.
quick.
All right. So we got a little extra in there. That was good to get. Buddy, it was good chatting with you. I hope you have a great Halloween.
Always.
We'll be back next week. Go read some comics. Go support your local comic shop. And until next time, everybody.